Our account was handled by one of the founders of the bank who offered real help in our time of need. Signature Bank is a better fit for our business because, like Horn McGowan Insurance Agency, they are local and they get things done. Signature's technology made our banking transition seamless, but it's their outstanding personal service that made all the difference.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
6:36, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, and Jim.
8094 eastbound at Burnham Avenue. We just had a report of a crash eastbound Adams Tollway. There was a collision between Barrington Road and Roselle Road, but that's gone. About Eisenhower, traffic's getting a bit congested from 9th Avenue to Des Plaines Avenue. It's 29 minutes from 390 to downtown, outbound 28, inbound Stevenson. Your brief slowdown is approaching the Ryan, 29 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound 28, inbound Ryan at Stop and Go from the Stevenson to Roosevelt, 17 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57, 16 minutes, I-80 to the Merge, outbound roadwork cleared. Bishop Ford, 13 minutes from 8094 to the Ryan. That's traffic. I'm Chip Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sunshine this early morning, partly cloudy by the afternoon, highs in the mid-80s. Tonight, cloudy, a 30% chance of showers, lows in the mid-60s. 66 at O'Hare, next news coming up at 7. And Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com.
Well, on a positive note, talking about Chicago specifically, a man named Rahm actually did something good in Chicago for the first time.
Hey-ho!
John Rahm winning the BMW Championship at Olympia Fields.
Yeah,
an
your
incredible
course
finish.
looks real nice.
Gave him
and
fits.
It is
Gave him
challenging.
fits. That was great. That was a great tournament, great finish. Olympia. I'm proud to be a member of Olympia Fields. They did a fantastic job. The course looked beautiful. It gave them, the pros, fits, obviously, with 4 under being the winning score, and also the pros were very complimentary of the course and everything as well. So,
Oh, good.
unfortunately,
Well,
the era of COVID, no fans, but otherwise, it was a great weekend. In that one limited respect, we have to
Right.
find positives where we can.
But when Rahm sunk that 66-foot putt, people did cheer, and there were volunteers, and the commentator was
sure.
quick to say, well, no, fans aren't here. Those are family members and volunteers. It's like, who cares? Let's just celebrate. Can we have fun? I mean,
Well-
that was a spectacular putt. My God, it was so much fun.
As
watching it.
was DJ's putt on
Oh, yeah.
18 to send it into sudden death, too. It was remarkable. So that was the good news. Okay. That's my extent of the report on the good news. Now we have to get back to the other news,
That
including
segment's over.
this report out of Barron's. Did you see this at the end of the week? Cities and states facing a $1 trillion budget mess, and Barron's does, as they often do, intermittently, a review of the finances of states, and they do a state ranking from best to worst. The best in the nation in terms of fiscal health at the state level is Idaho. Iowa, your adopted home state, Amy, is 8th. They're doing a pretty decent job.
South Dakota's doing well.
Our next door neighbor to the east, where everybody's moving, Indiana, is 14th. Hold on.
Not bad.
Hold
Keep
on.
going down. Let's see where
Wisconsin
Illinois is
to our
on that.
north is 21st. Missouri to our south is 25th. I'm still looking for
Yeah, keep
Illinois.
going deep,
Michigan,
deep.
Vacation spot for a lot of Chicagoans. That is 32nd. Still can't find Illinois. Looking,
going.
looking. Mississippi, West
deeper?
Virginia,
Go deeper?
Connecticut, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, New Jersey. Oh, here we are. Illinois,
wait.
50th with a bullet. And I do mean with a
Oh.
bullet. The parenthetical note by Eaton Vance, who compiled all of this data, notes that Illinois is the only state in the nation that's borrowed from the municipal liquidity facility that the Fed set up as part of the COVID relief package 1.0. the only state. And that was about $1 trillion. Excuse me, $1 trillion. They wish it was $1 trillion. $1 billion worth of bonds, just again to keep the house of cards standing for a few weeks longer. So that's at the state level. The philosophy is the same at the city level. But our friend Ed Bachrach points out, as he did in his book that he co-authored, The New Chicago Way, Lessons from Other Big Cities, that lost in the discussion of all that is wrong with Chicago and why Chicago is so much more wrong than other big cities when it comes to fiscal health and public safety. Structural problems, the actual way city government is set up that provides all sorts of perverse incentives that lead to perverse outcomes. And we're pleased to be joined again by Ed Bachrach, retired chairman and CEO of Bachrach Clothing, founder of Build Cambodia, and author of, as I mentioned, The New Chicago Way, Lessons from Other Big Cities. Ed, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hi, Dan and Amy. Thanks for having me.
So you make the point that stupidity is not ignorance. It's non-thought of received ideas. This seems to be an important distinction for us to understand in Chicago, that we're not completely oblivious to what's going on. We just haven't implemented what we know to be true in terms of best practices.
That's correct.
So develop that for us a little bit, and particularly starting in public safety, since you looked at, for example, officers, police officers, in a per capita basis. We have as many police officers on a per capita basis as New York. We have more, actually, and yet the public safety is so much worse. So it's not a personnel problem; it's a structure problem.
Yes, it is a structural problem, and to paraphrase Shakespeare, what a tangled web we weave. And we've got it in spades in public safety and policing in Chicago. The community doesn't trust the police. The police doesn't trust city government. City government doesn't trust the police. And meanwhile, we continue to overspend and underperform. The quality of the public safety product that is provided by the city of Chicago is the result that you read about in the newspaper every day. So by any measure, those are the defects from the manufacturing process of our public safety sector. And I also want to correct one little detail that has been asserted in certain articles. They say that while the homicide rate is up in Chicago, the rate of other crimes is down. That's false. The only reason that the rate of other crimes against property, whether it be rape or burglaries or car theft or whatever, is that nobody's reporting them and the police aren't investigating them. So when there's lawlessness in one area, there's lawlessness across the board.
Right. It's not like people just say, you know what, I'm going to graduate from burglary to shooting people. And also, too, I mean, we understand that, those people committing one set of Class X felonies are open-minded about committing other sets of Class X felonies, too. I mean, the whole effort of having fun with numbers to potentially say, oh, it's not as bad as you think, don't believe your lying eyes, I think is not working. But the question is then, what should we be doing? What can we learn from other big cities in terms of how their police departments are structured so that we get more bang for our 13,000 officers?
Yeah. So I would, first of all, start with the Los Angeles Police Commission as the best model that we see. It is a commission that is appointed by the mayor, but once appointed, the mayor can't remove the commissioners. The mayor can try, but then the commissioners can appeal to the city council, which is completely independent from the mayor's office. And so the police commission in Los Angeles not only oversees the police department, but they also have the inspector general with a vast staff of inspectors and investigators who report to the commission. They don't report to the police chief. They don't report to the mayor. And so every time there is a use of lethal force. Someone from the state's attorney's office and someone from the inspector general's office goes to the scene live, real time. They don't get a chance to make up their story, and investigates. And then the results of those investigations are posted on the commission's website. So, 20 years ago, in the aftermath of the Rodney King riots and the Ramparts corruption scandal, Los Angeles had the worst police department in the United States. Now it has one of the best in terms of homicides and reputation and otherwise. So, and it's the work of this police commission so that they held the police department to the constitutional standards that they aspired to. And remember, they had a consent decree. And, after the first 4 years of that consent decree, like Chicago, they flunked it. Just because you have a consent decree doesn't mean that you get better. It's like going to school. You actually have to go to class and get an A to get better.
Well, how can we implement that system in Los Angeles to Chicago?
Well, you would have to persuade the mayor and the city council that we need an independent police commission. And right now we have a balkanized system. We have the Chicago Police Board, and we also have what is called COPA, which is the Civilian Office of Police Accountability. But their mandates are very narrow, and so there are holes a mile wide in what they can and what they cannot do. And also remember that by a simple ordinance, the mayor and the city council can override the Chicago Police Board. The ordinance requires that the Chicago Police Board recommend candidates for police chief. And yet they did that in the case of when Eddie Johnson was chosen, but they didn't recommend him. The mayor overrode that, suspended that law for 1 day so he could pick Eddie Johnson, and then reinstated the law. So we need a police commission.
I mean,
there are two community proposals for this. We think that they're highly politicized and inefficient, and we think that there could be a more streamlined and effective police commission. But the city council needs to act. Mm-hmm.
I mean, just to put a fine point on what you're saying about the structural nature of the problem here. Chicago, as I said at the outset, about the same per capita number of police officers as New York, but twice as many as Houston, almost twice as many police officers per capita as Los Angeles. And Chicago has a higher murder rate than Houston, Los Angeles, and New York combined. Higher murder rate per capita. I mean, that's just stunning. Right. That is a stunning indictment of the political structure, the political power structure in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, but I the way I look at it is you look at it as a manufacturing process. And how many times have we gone to a factory and you see a big sign up that says 793 days since our last work injury?
Yeah.
And we need the police department to have a sign that says 793 days since our last incident of unconstitutional policing. And when you go that long, suddenly the reputation in the community improves. People start to snitch on people because they feel protected by the police. The clearance rate goes up. We get the bad guys off the streets, and the homicide rate goes down. That's what happens in other cities. It's not that difficult.
Well, speaking about getting the bad guys off the streets, that necessarily involves the prosecutor's office, and we seem to have a bit of a culture change there as well. Sun-Times story last week, the number of criminal defendants freed on bail in order to wear electronic monitoring bracelets soared this year in Cook County, more than 1,000 people, including more than 1,000 people charged with murder, robbery, or illegal possession of guns. This is a Chicago Sun-Times analysis. And David Brown, the police superintendent, many of those being set free on electric monitoring are responsible for the steep rise in killings this year. And they asked police to the Sun-Times for specific examples of what David Brown said. So he provided more than 24, and they're really stunning. Every one of them it's completely unnerving. For example, an individual who was accused of jumping from a stolen truck, robbing a female driver at gunpoint in March in Logan Square. Police arrest him near Parkway Gardens after he rammed their vehicle with the stolen truck. He was charged with armed robbery, posted $500 in bail, placed on electric monitoring. While he was on electric monitoring, the sheriff's office relieved an alert for unauthorized leave. 3 hours later, he shot an off-duty cop in the knee during an attempted robbery. So what's going on with the non-prosecution culture, as it's been termed, in Kim Foxx's office? That seems to me that's a big structural as well as political culture problem as well.
It certainly is. But, the one difference that we have there that we don't have elsewhere in the city is that she's up for re-election. And look what happened to her predecessor when she delayed in charging Jason Van Dyke for the murder of Laquan McDonald. And so at least if you can vote on people, it may not be perfect, but it's better than when you can't even vote. So that's what I think that it'll be interesting to see how she's held accountable in this election cycle.
And with respect to city finances, which I know you've looked at as well, the mayor, Lightfoot, said earlier this spring, sort of at the height of the COVID outbreak and the height of the shutdown, that city finances were fine. That was her sort of one-sentence commentary on it. That seems to run counter to what everybody understands to be true. But just how bad structurally are city finances, and what can you do there, particularly with the unfunded pension debt?
Well, of course, it is just crushing you. I'm sure that many of your listeners have seen the op-ed piece that was in the Wall Street Journal on Saturday that talked about the horrible finances in Chicago. And they even referred to something that people need to be aware of, and that sales tax revenue is the new frontier. They had all their other previous tricks, but then starting with TIFs and property tax gimmicks and everything else, and now everybody's trying to grab a hold of sales tax revenue in order to patch their budgets. And, that source is going to dry up here real fast. But what we need, I went back to elections. We analyzed other major cities. In most major cities, voters have to approve a tax increase. Voters have to approve borrowing. You look at articles of whether it is San Francisco or San Diego or New York City or Los Angeles, when they're getting ready to spend money, voters have to approve it. When was the last time you voted for a tax or borrowing in Chicago or in Illinois?
Well, and it's going to be interesting today because Lori Lightfoot, she's going to reveal her city 2021 budget forecast at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
And we'll laugh and laugh and laugh. It will be a good time for all. He is Ed Bachrach, retired chairman and CEO of Bachrach Clothing, founder of Build Cambodia, author of The New Chicago Way, Lessons from Other Big Cities, and I will tweet out his op-ed along with his writing partner, Austin Berg, at theamericanconservative.com as well for your perusal. Ed, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan and Amy. Bye-bye.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.